What's up, guys? Bunting 101. I am so excited about this because I love bunting. It was the one thing in my career that I finally excelled at and got good at. I had some other things I could do well, but bunting ended up being the icing on the top for me. It was really the thing that really set me apart from everybody else. I didn't break any records. I was that kind of player, but bunting, I was good at that. I hung my hat on. So that being said, I believe that bunting can be a huge part of our games individually, no matter what type of player we are. And it's something that we've built as the cornerstone of our philosophy here at Clover Hill. Okay, so the bottom line is we use the bunt in our program and in our philosophy to win baseball games. It's the bottom line. The bottom line is we need to be able to do it in order to win. You'll often hear me talk about the high school game. The high school game is different than any other level. It's got its own challenges. It's got its own benefits as well. But at the high school game, where we do well is when we bunt well. When we are efficient with the bunt, when we execute it well, we score more runs and give us a better chance to win more games. So it's an offensive tool that is so often underutilized, and sometimes more often than not, it's under-practiced. When's most of the time when you actually practice the bunt with your travel teams? You probably don't. And if you do, it's because you lay down a bunt or two at the beginning of BP. That is not enough. It's not enough. You have to practice it, and you have to take it serious when you do it. Most games that we play in high school are won or lost by one run. I've had several seasons now where we've lost by one run or won by one run. Very seldom are we blowing people out or people blowing us out, right? It's a very simple idea that if you don't do everything right to win, one of those small things that you miss on might come up and bite you and actually cause you to lose a game. Bunting's one of those things. You have to get that bunt down when it's called time for you to do it. You have to be able to do it. It's so important. And if you can take it serious and you can want to do it, then you can actually be productive with it. Now, at Clover Hill, we have a philosophy about this, and we talk about it at length, that we do not, and this is crazy, people are gonna look at me sideways for this if somebody outside the program hears this, we do not sacrifice. We do not sacrifice. That's not our mentality. We don't have a sacrifice mentality, okay? There might come a time where we execute a sacrifice bunt, but that's not at the forefront of our minds. Whenever we bunt, we are bunting. We're bunting to try to get our butts on first base. It's never just to move a guy to second. It's bigger than that for us. We want to get over to first base cheaply, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But bunting for us is not a sacrifice. Foot speed is not important in our bunt, the way we do it. It's not important. I don't care how fast you can run. I don't care how slow you run. It is not important at all to me, at all. I'm not worried about you getting out of the box to get to first base. That is not important to me as well. Wow, coach, you're really confusing me now. Well, be with me. Be with me. Placement of that bunt is paramount. That is what we're going to focus on, is placing that ball in a spot, a very specific spot. And once again, we'll talk about that more a little bit later. And at the very least, the thing that's going to help us the most, the thing that we are going to say that this is going to be how we're successful with this, we have to maintain the element of surprise in order to do it this way. So we're not going to sacrifice. We're going to stay put. All right, we're not going to run out of the box. We're focused on the placement. And then we're also going to focus on the element of surprise. And in doing all those things, we might have a better chance on first base, while at the same time moving a guy over to second. And that's the minimum, is that we get somebody over to second. Then you start adding on bonuses. The next bonus, you got a runner on first and second. The next bonus, they throw it away, second and third. So a lot of good things can happen when you don't see it as a sacrifice. Now, I want to talk real quick about the fundamentals or whys. Why do we bunt? And really more, before we go into the mechanics, the things that are going to set our bunt apart from everybody else's, okay? The element of surprise we mentioned, and that is so important. I can't even begin to describe how important that is. All right, we want to keep that intact as often as possible. And we do that through several things, okay? First of all, we don't want to give signs. If we give a sign, then people are going to have an idea that we might bunt, and that idea alone might ruin our element of surprise. So we don't want to give signs. You got to know the situation and know that at Clover Hill, this is when we bunt. Okay, you know that, and you go into a game or into an at bat knowing that. Okay, we don't want to pull back the bunt. Every time we pull back the bunt, we tell them, hey, we're thinking about it. Go ahead and adjust your defense accordingly. Okay, so we don't pull back the bunt. That's a big ticket item that we believe in at Clover Hill. We don't sit here, you hear the cliche all the time, bunt strikes, bunt strikes. That doesn't apply at Clover Hill. We bunt bad pitches. Right? Next, we have to keep the ball fair. We have to keep the ball fair. If it goes foul, that's one opportunity missed, and we lose our element of surprise. So the element of surprise is huge for us, and we got to maintain it by doing those things. Next, the next fundamental we're going to talk about is moving the base runner over to second base. That is the minimum goal that we just talked about. It's a minimum goal to get the runner over to second base. So that's one of the reasons why. Another reason why is that we can get runners on first and second. So we want to move that runner to first cheaply. We want there to be a cheap opportunity to get an extra base runner. And that happens with placement. Not with getting out of the box, it happens with placement. All right? We want to cause more confusion. That happens with placement, getting all the position players, the catcher, the pitcher, the third baseman to converge on that one spot. That's going to cause confusion. All right, we're going to call that placement the cookie jar. Okay, the sweet spot, the cookie jar, where everybody's converging to the same spot. Everybody reaches their hand in that cookie jar, and if they come out with something, it's going to probably be a broken cookie. All right, so we're going to call that the cookie jar. That's where we want. It's the best spot to put that bunt. Now, understand that bunting is a choice. It's a decision. It's a decision to want to do it. If you walk into the box and you don't want to bunt, if you come to the ballpark that day and you don't want to bunt at all, if you prepare in the preseason, the off season, and you don't want to bunt during the off season, preseason, guess what? When the game starts, you're not going to want to bunt. When your bat comes where we need you to, you're not going to want to bunt. You have to want to bunt. You're going to have to want to be good at it. So it's an individual effort that helps the team. Okay? If you get really good at the bunt, it can improve your batting average. For me, when I was in college, it improved my batting average by about 50 points per season. That's a significant amount. When you're only batting 275, add 50 points to that. Now you're batting 325. Pretty big deal. All right? Because you get to sneak away with a couple base hits here and there with that bunt. So it can increase your batting average. You're not very good at the bunt. You don't really take it serious. You're not going to see the gains in your batting average, but you are going to see yourself helping your team win if you just go ahead and dive into wanting to do that bunt. All right, now it's time to talk about mechanics. Mechanics, the physicality, what we're doing with our bodies in the bunt. The first thing we need to talk about is the grip of the bat. You guys were all probably taught to pinch the bat just like this. Very common teaching in baseball. Unfortunately, here at Clover Hill and in some places, the higher up in levels you go, this is incorrect. This is incorrect. We don't pinch the bat. Instead, we want to grip the bat. Control the bat by holding the bat. So our thumbs up along the top, our fingers wrap around the base, here at the bottom, and we're able to hold the bat. We have more control over this bat. Right here, let me show you a couple things. When we're holding it here, we can now move the bat anywhere in the zone that we need to go with a little bit more control. If we're pinching it, we don't have as much control. If we hold it, we have more control over bunting bad pitches, maintain the element of surprise. The other thing that we have control over the speed of the bunt, how hard we bunt the ball. The harder we squeeze, the harder the bunt. The lighter we squeeze, the lighter the bunt. Okay, there's times where you want to bunt the ball harder. Runner on second base to draw the third baseman to field that bunt. Okay, we want to bunt the ball hard to him, so we're going to squeeze the bat harder. Bunting it softer, weaker catcher, all kinds of situations where we can control the speed of the bunt by that top hand. Now understand where that hand goes. We don't want to have our hand on the handle or up too far at the barrel. Okay, we want it right at the pine tar line, right above the pine tar line, which is 18 inches from the knob of the bat, 18 inches. That's the rule, is where you're allowed to have a pine tar. Okay, the bottom hand, very simply put, at the base of the knob, right there. We're not choked up. Okay, I hate when I see this. the Derek Jeter bunt, and I don't even like this so much because you don't have as much control. Let me tell you where it really applies when we're bunting, okay? When you have to bunt that outside pitch, both arms across, you're not gonna be able to reach as far as if you just have that extra little inch or two to push that knob out a little bit more, okay? Can't really do it here. There we can. So we're gonna have control with that bottom hand as well. The next thing that we need to worry about is the angle of our bat, okay? When I was taught to bunt, I was taught to bunt with an angled bat like this. It's incorrect, okay? You need to have a flat bat. The percentage of success is higher with a flat bat, and you won't see many professional bunters, guys that bunt at professional level, bunt with an angled bat. It's flat, it's flat, it's flat. It's not angled, it's not angled, it's flat. Flat is flat. There's no mistaking what flat is, okay? Just that much angle is angle, angle, flat. Set the angle, and the other angle we could talk about, aside from being flat, is the angle to third base, all right? So when we go to set up for our bunt, we set the angle to third base right away with a flat bat. Our next thing we're talking about is our stance. In our stance, righties and lefties are gonna be a little bit different, but mostly the same. So as I talk to righties and lefties, we're gonna show both, but we gotta see that they're pretty close to the same. First thing we need to know is our position in the box. We gotta be close to the plate and up in the box. And there's a reason why, not just because Coach Mooney said so. You got to know the reason why. We're close to the plate on both sides, righty and lefty. We're close to the plate so that we can cover the outside half, okay? If we're in our normal stance, we're not going to be able to cover the outside half as easy. So we want to be close to the plate. Now we want to be up in the box, and up in the box keeps our ball fair. If we bunt the ball back here, our ball is going to naturally tend to be a little bit more foul. We scoot up. Now it stays a little bit more fair. Same thing on the left side. Okay, close to the plate, up in the box. Now I can cover the outside part of the plate a lot easier. And my angle is going to be keeping the ball a little bit more fair. And lefties can bunt the ball a little fatter, close to the pitcher, sometimes get away with it because their ball naturally tails back to the line. If I'm in the back of the box as a lefty, same principle applies. You're having a tendency to bunt the ball a little more foul. So we want to be close to the plate, up in the box. Now our stance on both sides of the plate is going to be slightly open. So as we get into our box, we know we're bunting. We'll be close to the plate, up in the box right away. We don't want to start in a normal stance and creep to that spot. We want to step out of the box and get straight in that spot, ready to go. As we set our feet for this, you got to understand that you're not worried about getting out of the box. The mentality we have is we're going to put the placement right where we want it. So we're not worried about getting in the box. We don't have to be in a stance that's going to show us out of the box. Okay, that's not how we're bunting. We're focusing on placement. So we're going to start off athletic. Our move is going to be, we're going to open up our front side just a little bit, and we're going to get low with our butt, and we're going to get back a little bit. Okay, so left side. Okay, now we're there. So we're going to open up our stance. We're going to get low and kind of sit back a little bit, hips back a little bit. And we got to make sure next, and this is the tough part that I struggled with in college when I was not a very good bunter, was getting my head behind the bunt. All right, so watch it as I do it, getting my head behind the bunt. Okay, head's behind the bat. Right here, what we don't want is this. And that all comes really from where your hips and your butt are. If your hips and butt are low, a lot easier to get there. But that's the decision we got to do, is get our head behind the bat as well. Now, the last little topic we're going to talk about is the execution of the bunt. The execution might be the most important part, because without the correct execution, obviously nothing else happens. Okay, the bunt is a failure. So in order to succeed with this bunt, the execution needs to be a focus as well. Putting all that we talked about together, the execution now has to do with the ball meeting the bat, the barrel of the bat, at the right angle, flat, wherever it is, in or around the zone. As we make contact with that ball, we want to make sure that we do not try to deaden it. Try to deaden it back to make sure that it's not too hard. Remember, we control its softness based on our grip. We're a little lighter on the grip. If we want it harder, we squeeze harder. So We're not worried about deadening it. We're not trying to jab at it to bunt it hard, okay? All we're doing is we're trying to squeeze that bat either hard or soft, so that way we're not trying to control the speed with any movement. Once we bunt the ball, we want to kind of slightly follow through the bunt with the barrel. So as we bunt, slight forward motion, just a slight motion, not a jab, but a slight forward motion, okay? And we're going to stay right there with the bunt. We're not going to try to bunt and run at the same time. We're going to bunt the ball, slight through, and from there, we want to focus on our result. Focus on our result. We're not worried about getting down the line. We're not worried about that. We're worried about that ball being in the cookie jar. So bunt, and we want to take a picture of that ball. We want to see it and see it down. See it down. And then as we begin to run, okay, we're dropping the bat. We want to give it an extra look and keep on following that ball with our eyes and admire your work, okay? Focusing and giving it that extra look, all your attention on the placement still, even after you bunted it, to tell you that that's more important. So we're going to focus on that bunt. Same thing with the lefties, okay? Push slightly. As we start running, we're still looking at it as we're getting out of the box. Admire your work. Be able to bunt bad pitches all over the zone and outside the zone. The element of surprise is the reason for that. So if it's low, right-handers, reaching out. If it's high, one that here. If it's inside, we're pulling it in. Lefty, same thing. If it's outside, there. If it's inside, here. Okay, that's probably gonna be a little bit more fat, but it'll work way towards the line. Right? Here on the inside pitch. High, there. Low, there. We're able to cover every pitch that we possibly see. Now it's important to know this. How do we practice that? How do we get practice bunting those bad pitches? There's one way and one way only. BP. BP. How seriously do you take your bunting in BP? That's the question. If you can sit in BP and get the element of surprise incorporated into your BP, you'll become a better bunter. If you bunt first pitch bunt, second pitch bunt, and then you start hacking away, guess where your priority is? It's on your hacks. All right, your priority needs to be on your bunt if you're a bunt guy. You need to mix your bunt into your round. Don't ever bunt first. That's how we do it at Clifford. We bunt first. We swing first, and we bunt and mix it in. Put a high pressure situation into your BP of executing that bunt on a random pitch. That's how we incorporate the element of surprise. And we don't pull the bat back if we get a bad pitch in BP. We bunt it. We bunt bad pitches in BP, and that's how we get better at that. If we're doing a bunt drill, same principle. Bunt drill where we're seeing 5, 8 pitches at a time, never pull the bat back. Bunt bad pitches. Challenge yourself to bunt bad pitches, barrel on the ball, and make it land in our cookie jar. That's how we do it. All right? So bottom line is with the bunt, it's something that's going to help us win baseball games, guys. These are the things that we need to use, things that we need to think about, and you have to want to bunt. If you don't want to bunt, you're never going to be any good at it. You have to focus on it. You have to want to do it. It's going to take practice. It's going to have to take some time and some experience doing it in high pressure situations. The bunt can be your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy.